As I said, folks, Senator Tim Scott is whining and complaining that Democrats are not moving forward with his 2020 bill. It is called the Just and Unifying Solutions to Invigorate Communities Everywhere Act. I don't know what the hell that name is. And so he said that it would end the use of police chokeholds and create a duty for officers to intervene when they see a colleague using excessive force. And he is openly calling out the leader of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Democrat Senator Dick Durbin, saying that he is blocking it. But I recall, Randy, that the same Senator Tim Scott shut down the George Floyd Justice Act negotiations that passed the House, negotiating in the Senate, because he claimed that Democrats wanted to have provisions in the bill that would defund the police. Now, the reason Tim Scott is full of it is because a year earlier in Tim Scott's bill, he actually said that if cities did not pass certain laws, they could not qualify for the federal funding. I got the receipts. I have text messaged Tim Scott 4 or 5 times. He never responded to that. So he's really crying wolf right now.
I honestly don't know what else to say, but yes, he's crying wolf. He's saying one thing and doing another. He has never been for real police reform. Never, even when it comes down to looking at the George Floyd Act, he's gone against that. There's nothing that has shown that he cares about reforming policing, and if anything, supports the way it is today. So I don't understand what this latest trick is. He's just talking.
And that's really it there, Michael. I mean, look, he has no credibility with me on this. You had a number of police unions who were on board with the George Floyd Justice Act. And he used this letter from the head of the sheriff's organization in South Carolina, who was opposed to it, as the reason why he stopped negotiating. And it was like, dude, come on. And so I'm sorry. I don't want to hear the whining of Tim Scott about Senator Dick Durbin, when in fact it was Senator Tim Scott who chose to scuttle the George Floyd negotiations.
And, certainly moreover, he obviously he's playing politics. He's thinking about running for president, and he wants to be able to go into urban or certainly of color neighborhoods, whether it's Latino or African-American neighborhoods, and be able to say, hey, look, I tried to move this bill forward. They blocked it. They wouldn't let me get a vote on it or even a hearing. But then on the other hand, he wants to play to the MAGA crowd. So he's obviously playing his political game. But it's one of those things where when Tim, assuming he runs for president, I have no idea whether he will or not. Everybody's running after this MAGA crowd, which is interesting to me because it used to be when Trump was, I guess, if he was ever at a peak, was what, maybe, in the high 30s. Now it's in the high 20s and dwindling even more. So I don't know why everyone's running to this racist MAGA group to figure out that that's the ticket to get to be president, at least nominee in the Republican Party. So, he's playing politics. He's going to continue to play it. But it's certainly interesting if he's campaigning, if he's going to say the George Act, because he changed the name. Why didn't he just say, I'm just using the old title? So I find that interesting. He's going to continue to play politics, and we'll obviously see what happens with that.
Look, he absolutely is trying to run for president in 2024, and he wants to act as if he is moving forward on this. But the reality is his bill was weak, and Democrats wanted more in the bill. The House version, the George Floyd Justice Act, was much stronger than his bill, to be frank. And so it's not, and he wants to act like, it's all about chokeholds and the next cop standing by. Dude, stop it. Well, stop it. It goes way beyond that. But he wants to offer this minimal bill to act as if somehow he's doing something significant to confront police brutality in America.
Yeah. I mean, his bill was watered down at best. Tim Scott knows what he's doing. The other panelists have already sort of highlighted that. Tim Scott reminds me so much of Supreme Court Justice, who I don't even say his name anymore, but he's the only African-American male who's there who never says anything. Tim Scott also, if you follow Tim Scott, when all these other senators are standing up and talking about important issues, Tim Scott is often very, very silent. Now, he did speak a few times about this particular issue. Here's the other part of the equation that you got to point out. It goes back to what we talked about before. Qualified immunity is important, and it has to be a part of any serious police reforming bill. And if you're not willing to fully embrace that, then you are just feeding folks a bunch of foolishness. So Tim Scott knows what time it is, and he just refuses to do what's necessary and what's right. And there's no way that he's going to get folks to vote for him if he's considering running for president or being part of vice president or one day leading the Senate. People are not going to take you serious because in no time did you ever stand up and do what's necessary. In times, what did Dr. King say? Something about, being willing to stand up in tough times and do what's right. So we all know who Tim Scott is, and we don't have high expectations for him.
I just, again, listening to him, and here's the deal. First of all, let's play this piece of video of Tim Scott whining, and I'm explaining to y'all again what he did and how he won't answer to what he also did. Go ahead.
Yesterday on ABC's This Week, Senator Durbin asked Senator Booker and I to come back to the table and start talking about policing in America. I never left the table, Mr. President, but it was Senator Durbin who filibustered my Justice Act. It was Senator Durbin who called the effort to make de-escalation training more available a token piece of legislation. It was indeed the senator from Illinois who said, as aspects of my Justice Act, talked about the importance of the duty to intervene, a token piece of legislation. In that legislation, Mr. President, we had more resources for more training because we want only the best wearing the badge in every location, in every municipality, in every county, in every state in this great nation. But politics too often gets in the way of doing what every American knows is common sense. And here we find ourselves again, Mr. President, having the same conversation with no action having happened so far. Now, Mr. President, I don't speak on this floor very often, but this is my 10th speech on policing in America in 8 years. The 10th time I've asked for something that will make our officers better and safer and make our communities better and safer. Another time I have asked for more resources.
Forgive me if I take a nap while he's talking. He's sitting here, y'all. This is the 10th time I've been on the floor. So let me take y'all back to what happened. Senator Tim Scott went on Face the Nation, Margaret Brennan, and said that Democrats, it was a bridge too far because Democrats were trying to defund the police. Well, a year earlier, Michael Harriot wrote a piece about Senator Tim Scott's bill. He quoted the deputy chief of staff for Senator Tim Scott in the bill, stating that the incentive to get them to do the right thing was to withhold federal funding if they don't pass bills or laws to make changes. So Senator Tim Scott was sitting here texting me and telling me the language in the bill, y'all, and telling me, read it. It's right there. Telling me where to look. Telling me where to go. And all that stuff. This was, here we go. Give me 1 second. I'm going to show y'all exactly when it was. This was September 28, 2021. I got receipts. He says read sections 113, 114, 202, 204, 363, 382, and more. It's pretty clear. He says, read it for yourself. Tell me what you think. I can have my team send it to you. Quote, I don't BS. That's Senator Tim Scott. Sent me an email. I then said, if Dems want to defund the cops by cutting funds, please explain why you previously wanted to do the same. How can you say it's a bridge too far when what you now say is bad is what your own deputy chief of staff says was needed? Here's what Michael Harriet published today. That was September 30th. Seriously, what's the difference? And what's the difference when the Trump executive order that you supported did the exact same thing? Nope. Y'all can see. No response. October 27th. Senator, it's been almost a month since I sent the last text to you asking you to clarify your statement on Face the Nation with what you did last year. I've also sent emails to your staff that have gone unanswered. Can you or your staff answer exactly what I asked last month? No response. January 19th. Senator Tim Scott. It's been 2.5 months since I asked you to explain the difference between what you accused Dems of doing on the Floyd bill and what you proposed last year. Why have you and your staff gone silent on your own proposal? What's the difference? No response. May 25th. I have numerous family members on my show now who are at the White House. They are angry because they say you haven't reached out to any of them since the bill fell apart. They say they want to hear from you, both from Jean's sister, Terrence Crutcher's sister, Amir Locke's family. They're not happy. No response. So please tell me, Senator Scott, how in the hell you actually care about this when you didn't even talk to the family members and you won't even answer the question about your own bill? I got the receipts.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.